start recording. Okay, so Frederic, this is your first call, and that you've already done a Goenka retreat and been reading with Chula Dasa and that kind of stuff. And so we were just beginning to talk about Anapanasati according to the natural method, the way that Bhikkhu Buddhadasa kind of teaches it, even though none of Bhikkhu Buddhadasa's books, by the way, are natural method. They're the organized way, which is kind of the way that the sutta is laid out anyway. And the sutta is laid out in the sense of the four foundations of mindfulness called the Satipatthana. You probably heard that word, okay, which is body, feelings, mind objects. But like I was saying before, you can't bring just the mind into the meditation hall and say, okay, we're only going to work on mind right now. Can't do it that way. We have to actually operate, and it's better to understand various aspects of Anapanasati so that we know which step we're practicing right now, which is much, much better than say, oh, I know what stages there are in Anapanasati, therefore I'm going to practice this one right now. Okay, that's the organized method. The natural method is to figure out which one you're on right now. And some of them are quite sudden, quite fast. So next time we'll go into detail of all of the 16, but they are broken into four tetrads, which are the four foundations of mindfulness. So the first four then, when I say first, we're not talking about time frame, but just the way that they're described. The first four are with the body. The second four would be with the feelings. The third four would be with the mind. And then the last four would be mental objects. Now, the way that the Anapanasati Sutta is written, it's very difficult to understand these relationships without also reading the Satipatthana Sutta. When you put those two suttas together, you begin to understand, actually in the sense of the mind's objects, we're going to work with the mind's objects in two different ways. One is to get the mind cleaned out. And then the other one is, what are we going to do with a cleaned out mind? Okay, so the first one then is to remove the hindrances from the mind. Now, you've already known quite a lot about that, because that's, in fact, taking the Goenka course, you've probably heard him say, never mind, start again.
Yep.
So let's look at what happens immediately before the never mind happens. Immediately before the never mind is when sati happens, Anapanasati, or the Satipatthana. What does that mean? It means we wake up to, in this case, the mind has wandered away from the breath. And so we say, never mind, start again. That sati that wakes up is a wake-up call, but in fact, while we're doing that, we're actually practicing step 10 of Anapanasati. What is that? Is to recognize or to see or to experience the mind. And you just did. You experienced it as a mind with hindrance rather than a mind on the breath. And that's an important distinction, to start seeing that, oh, the mind had wandered away from the breath. Never mind, start again. All right? So I want to concentrate a little bit on that never mind part of Goenka right now, because that's going to be step 10 of Anapanasati. And it's also right effort to bring ourselves to that never mind state. So someplace in the mind, when someone recognizes, especially beginning students, they recognize the mind has wandered away, they don't like it. They don't like it at all. And also because the mind was probably already in a state of hindrances, in the sense that they were in a state of not liking anyway, they just continue with the same feeling, but now the object of the bad feelings is the mind has wandered away rather than whatever they were thinking about when the mind had wandered away. But what that student fails to understand is something really important has just happened. And that was sati arose. That recognition that the mind had wandered away. By recognizing that, that's something that's new. You see, the mind can wander away and wander and wander and wander and wander and wander, and nothing ever happens because no sati. When sati happens, now we know the mind has wandered away, and we still don't like it. This is the time to practice step 10 of Anapanasati, and that is to appreciate that sati has happened. That in fact sati is the number one skill to be developed. Beyond all others, this one's the one. Because without this skill, it doesn't matter how many other skills you have. But with this skill, then that'll help you to put whatever condition the skills you have now into play to help build them up. So what we're talking about here, sati, means to keep remembering, to keep coming back and coming back and coming back over and over and over again as remembering. The second thing that happens then after that with that sati is that we come to gladden the mind by saying, oh, wow, something special has just happened, because before the mind had wandered away and I didn't know it. Now the mind has wandered away and I see you. Ha-ha, I see you. That's part of the gladdening of the mind right now, or right there, is that seeing of that success. Now this is actually quite genuine, to where when you're practicing metta the way that you were talking about it, you were trying to sort of go about it in an indirect way, or an indirect fashion, telling yourself that you should be full of joy and happiness and all of that, and it kind of worked. Right? Well, yeah. Now we're actually going to come do it, in the sense that we're actually going to come put that to work in a way of, aha, real success. Real success. And so that brings on joy. That joy will then bring on good feelings. And you want to do that every time the mind wanders away. So that now what's happening is several things, all associated with the Eightfold Noble Path. Right sati, an aspect of the path. Now, there's several different ways of talking about the Eightfold Noble Path, but what I'm doing normally is breaking it into two different groups. The first group, which is right noble view, right noble attitude, and then skip over the right speech, right action, and right livelihood, because when we're sitting in meditation, we've got all of that stuff nailed. When we get off the couch or off the cushion, now we got to deal with it. But in the beginning, we all need is right view, right attitude, right sati, and right effort, in order to give that fifth one, which is right. The word right noble concentration actually means unification of the mind, when the mind is solid, when it's a unit. And we get it to be a unit with these four things. So here's the sequence. Sati comes up. Then right effort kicks in to bring in the joy and the ability to move off of the object that whatever the mind was thinking about, who knows, could be a monkey or something, and bring it to the joy of, aha, I see you, and then right into the breath. We're actually at that point in time controlling the contents of the mind, because we have just thrown out the hindrance. It might come back, but for now, we just threw it out. And now we're thinking about taking in a deep breath, a long breath. Now it's time to start again. Back at step 1 of Anapanasati, that long in breath. And then that long out breath. Take 3 or 4 of those, feel really, really good. And then let the breathing kind of go back to normal, but we don't want to lose the sati. But if it does, never mind. For the beginner, there's going to be, in fact, for quite a long time, there's always going to be that the mind goes back to whatever it wants to do, and your job is, number 1, catch it. See that that's happening. And then with joy. Aha, I caught you. We gladden the mind. This is one's right effort to bring the mind out of that hindrance. And by doing just this, aha, I caught you, is already the hindrance is gone by then. Because now we're coming back to the here now. Also, the breath. Think of the breath as an anchor to bring you back to the body, but that the body is an anchor to bring you back to this present moment. That everything about the teaching of the Buddha has to do with be here now. In fact, that's what he gave himself the name of. We call him Buddha, but everybody else, or in his time, they didn't call him Buddha. That's a modern word. Do you know what he called himself?
Tathagata?
Exactly. And what does that mean?
It was suchness or something like this?
Okay. But you're looking at it as if you're very confused, but think about it like this. Thusness is the same thing as thisness, or this is it. This present moment, or right now, or here now. There's many ways to describe it. Ram Dass calls it be here now. Eckhart Tolle calls it this present moment. The Buddha talks about it in the sense of thisness, or this is it. But that's also a very good definition of the word Dhamma. Normally we can use the word Dhamma as the Buddha's teaching, but if you understand the word Dhamma is kind of a thing, like everything, everything is Dhamma. And so you could say it's actually the teaching of the Buddha is the Buddha's thing. It's what he teaches. Your screen was frozen there for a second, or